Good morning, everyone. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea or coffee. I've actually been drinking most of mine preparing. And I'm just going to do a talk today because my next few days are going to be hectic. I'm packing. I've got stuff. I got boxes, empty boxes here, full boxes there. I can't take them anywhere yet. Until I close on Thursday, I don't have any place to put stuff. And Thursday's going to be busy because I'm going to have to go to the closing, which is scheduled at 1 o'clock. I don't think I'm going to have to go to the house first. It'll probably be after. And then when I'm done with everybody and I got the keys, then I got to go back into town, which is just 2 or 3 minutes away. It's not a big town. Roanoke is small. It's big enough for a Walmart, but that's about it. It's got a number of fast food places. There's a Taco Bell. I'm excited for that. It's the one fast food that I do like to eat. But I'm going to be busy on Thursday. I'll have to probably come back Thursday night or Friday and finish it. It's going to take me 2 trips, I think, to empty this out because I'm not carrying a full load in the car because I got to park on the main street and I don't want to do that until I can empty it out. So the first day I'll have maybe up to the windows and I put my little black curtain in there. So this is all Lord willing. You know me, I may have ideas of how I want to do stuff, but God knows exactly the right way to do it, and I don't want to get ahead of Him ever. So that's what's going to go on next week. Tomorrow, I'm recording this. This is supposed to be what I would record on Monday, but I spend the day with my son, and although we may pray and do scripture readings and stuff, I don't really have time to do a video. So I'm doing this on Sunday as well, Sunday evening, as opposed to any other time, but you'll see it in the morning on Tuesday. So then on Tuesday I'll do another video. Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know about Thursday. I should be able to do Thursday normally, but that's too far away. God doesn't give me but, 3 or 4 hour head start on anything. Kitty's over by me, but this is just not first thing in the morning. He's not pestering me right now. Let's keep it that way. In the morning, he's just getting up after sleeping, 10 hours, whatever he sleeps. So he's all full of energy. And today I had on my calendar that he's 1 year old. I'm not exactly sure because he was 3 to 4 weeks old when I found him wandering the park. Somebody either let him out or he came from a litter someplace that he may be the only one left. But in any case, I found him, knew that he wouldn't survive, so I brought him in. God provided him, just like He provided Isaac a little goat to sacrifice. One more sip of coffee and then I'm done. So the world is still continuing to be crazy. They had the big memorial service for Kirk today. Was at the Arizona Big Ball Stadium. I think they held 50,000 people there, and it was full. It looked like a Billy Graham crusade, as one commentator said. They're out there singing praises and songs. They're got very religious people up there talking. Amir Safati from Jerusalem, we follow him and listen to him all the time. He came over too, just for this. Because he was a friend of Israel's. So, the good news from all that tragedy is it's brought people together. Kind of a little mini revival there. They said they had like 3,000 come down to be saved, like yet again of Billy Graham. Get together. Okay, kitty, where are you? Go get him. I had a squirrel on the roof. I get squirrels on the roof because they jump off of trees and hit the roof and scurry across. They don't live up there. But of course, Kitty hears it and tries to get to him. Get him, Kitty. So, the rest of the world, it's crazy. All these countries are saying that they recognize the state of Palestine. They're already caught up in the lie. There never was, never will be a state of Palestine with Muslims in it. For a short while, after the Romans kicked the Jews out of Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, and chased everybody out for the most part, there was a few people left behind. Guess who they were? They were Jews. So the Romans named the country of Israel after their supposed worst enemy, the Philistines. He didn't get the name right, and he called them Palestinians, and he named that land Palestine. So it was given to him by the Romans, who were responsible for killing many, many Christians, including Paul. So this is the devil's group, and the Antichrist is supposed to be coming from this group. Now, we're a world population now, so you could find somebody in Canada or in China or in the United States or anywhere, not just Rome, who could be of Roman descent. I've done my DNA, and I can go back to Scotland, 1400s. I could probably go further, but I didn't pay for the full DNA kit because that cost more. I paid for the $50 one a number of years ago. So that and 50 cents will buy me a cup of coffee. But I am Scottish, and I don't know how to talk Scottish very well, but I can talk like Scotty on Star Trek. Because he doesn't talk Scottish either. That's just, he did voices. And they asked if he could do a Scottish voice, and he said yes, and they gave him the job. The Scots were supposed to be, at the time when they were looking over designing this Star Trek series, were supposed to be good shipbuilders, boatwrights. So they wanted a Scotsman to carry on that legacy in Star Trek. But the UN came out and said that they recognized the Palestinian state. They want a two-state solution. You know, the only two people in the world who really care the most and matter the most about it don't want a two-state solution. The whole world wants a two-state solution. Why? Because then they can fight. Divide and conquer. Satan's best motive. The so-called Palestinians, which are just nothing more than radical Islam members, they want a one-state solution. Them. Kill off all the Jews. Every one of them. They don't want one alive. That is hatred. Nobody but the devil carries that much hatred. But they're not Christians. And anyone who's not a Christian, you're not going to be protected by the Spirit. You can be demon-possessed. You can, just like the shooter, you can be demon-possessed, especially if you're outwardly sinning, because he may not have been trans, but his boyfriend was. You come out and say, he's not trans. He never said he's trans. No, but he has a boyfriend who claims that he is. The lies of the devil, and the world is buying it. We have another number of other states, the UK, Canada, some other states, are claiming that it's Palestinian state. They've accepted it. Even though nobody in the two that should be involved aren't even consulted, and they don't want a two-state solution. Israel certainly doesn't want it. Somebody who wants to annihilate them living on their borders. It's bad enough that they've got Jordan, who's kind of complacent. Egypt, who turned a blind eye when they were taking arms in, across the border into Gaza. Friends like this, who needs enemies? And Qatar is just, oh my God, why did you attack us? We're your friend. No, you're not. You've been negotiating for the terrorists so that they would win. Qatar is just as bad as everybody else. The only thing they haven't done is launch missiles from Qatar. But they're just as bad. Iran didn't, but a couple of times launch missiles. They tried to get their proxies to do it so they'd be clean. But finally they just decided to go ahead and try, and it didn't work. And Israel now has their laser defense system working. If we can keep this going long enough, if we're not raptured, the United States will probably buy their systems of rockets, because we don't really have enough defense here. Submarines can launch missiles, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, any kind. And they can be just 15 minutes off the coast and be in international waters. So we don't have really the defense in this country that we should have. Fortunately, there's enough bad guys here that they're probably not going to attack the entire country. Why would they attack San Francisco and New York? They're as left as they can get. They'd probably attack down here in the south. Go wherever there's military bases. That's where they would attack. But we're going to be out of here before they do. I know we will be, because that's why we're getting raptured. We're being pulled up as things are falling apart. As Satan goes to grab us, God's pulling us out of the way. That's why we're being snatched away. We're snatched right out of the claws of the devil, who wants to kill us. Anything to harm God. He hates God so much. Okay, there's the squirrel. He's running up the tree. There's lots of squirrels here in the park. Okay, he's just looking around right now. The water on the lake is still going down. We had 2 canoes, or those plastic ones, they're not canoes, what are they? I forget now. I don't like being on the surface of the water, so I have nothing to do with that. If it was deep enough, which it's not, I could scuba dive or snorkel. I don't mind being under the water, but I hate being on the surface. I'm not a good swimmer. I never was. Fortunately, I could float. When I was in the Navy, I had to swim so many laps around the pool. When I got certified for diving, I had to swim around the pool, back and forth, so many laps. I might have beaten the fat kid in class, but it been close, because I can't swim. I don't like to. Put flippers on my feet and I can paddle all day long and go under the water. I love that. On the surface, I don't. And I was in the Navy, so I've been on ships, and I've been in rough seas where you're going up and down 10 or 15 feet and you're holding on. I'm just talking today, just filling in what's going on around the world. Don't be worried about it. Would I be upset if I didn't get to move into my house? Yes. But depends on the reason. If we're raptured, that moment of being upset would be like that small. If it fell through for some other reason, yeah, I'd be upset. But if then we were raptured, I don't care. Rapture solves everything for us down here. But pray for strength and guidance while we wait. That's what the lamps being full means. Full of the Spirit. We're not sinning, so we're not blocking the Spirit from helping. The Spirit will give us the strength, the knowledge, the comfort that we need. Spirit's called the Comforter. While we wait. We don't know how long this gap is. The people that wrote the Bible didn't know there was a gap. Jesus didn't talk about the gap. Falling away of the world, okay, well, but how long does that last? It also doesn't talk about there being a gap. They thought they were going to go straight from the 69th week right into the 70th with no gap. Because that's how all the other weeks did. You could count it through, and we counted it from when they were told by Xerxes to go rebuild the temple till Jesus was 69 weeks. The word is heptad, 7 talking about years. If you calculate it out, it's 7 years. So even Paul was saying the rapture is imminent. Jesus said, and the disciples said, we're in the last days when they were here. So we're still in the last days, but we're in a interlude while we're sitting watching this timeline go forth. The video shuts down and you can go out to the lobby and get yourself some popcorn and candy and all that stuff and drinks. Hot dogs maybe. Yeah, that's a good place to get food. And then you come back in and sit down and it continues on. That's kind of what we're doing. We're in the interlude. When's it start? We don't know. Jesus didn't talk about it. He talked to his Jewish disciples. He wasn't concerned about a rapture of the church. At that time, there was no church. We've still got a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions about the end times, because it's all prophetic. And prophecies tend to talk in figures. The great sea, coming out of the sea. Well, the sea is an allegory for the world. So a lot of the problems that we have is just people don't understand. And God loves to do dual meanings. It can mean the sea, but it might also mean something else. And we won't know how it applies until we look back. A great deal of prophecy, outside of trying to give us some comfort that God knows what's coming, is not really supposed to be understood until we can look back at it. They didn't understand prophecy in the beginning. Even the prophecy that talked about the immediate future, they didn't understand it. If it had to be something that, like a dream, when Joseph interpreted the dream, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of fasting, he explained it. But if it doesn't get explained, Jesus talking in parables, if he didn't explain it to the disciples, they didn't understand it. They didn't have the Spirit of God in them until after Pentecost. And then you can do anything. The faith of a grain of mustard seed, and you can move mountains. Now, do we see mountains being moved? I don't see any picking up and moving and setting back down. But that may not how it worked. It may just be that it might be like Mount St. Helens when it blew up. It just kind of went up in the air, some of it scattered, and the other part of the mountain just slid down and went down the river. Was that moving a mountain? Was that somebody's prayer? We'll find out at the end. Nothing happens on this earth that God isn't directly involved in. Even if Satan's doing it, God's involved because he's saying, you can only go so far, Satan. Like with Job, you can do these things to him, but you can't kill him. God's still in charge. And Satan is God's nipping dog at your heels. Because God doesn't do that. All right. I don't know how long I've been talking. That's long enough. Just be comfortable with yourself and where things are at. Help others. Take care of yourself. Feel good about yourself. We're to love our neighbor as ourselves. What if you hate yourself? That won't work, will it? Well, God doesn't hate you. God loves you. So if you hate yourself, you're denying God what he wants. Give God what he wants and love yourself. And then share that love with others. Like, share, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. Contribute if you want to the thanks, and look in the description for other ways. Pray for this ministry. I need it every day. And we're waiting to see what happens this week. Will we be raptured? Will I be able to move into my new house? I've been camping for 5 years. This is going to be a new getting used to. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.